Okay, actually, as per the question I asked you at the beginning here, what is the role of the AJAX or the AJAX within an ASPX web solution? Surely and briefly, the AJAX, as per the first definition, it's an asynchronous mode to tackle the population of controls partially from within a web page. Asynchronous means we're going to tackle a small part, component from within one page to be updated. That's the unique part of that one component, like a list box or let's say something like that, would be actually updated from within the run of the page without resubmitting the page again and again. It would actually communicate with the web server in background. All of those are roles that the Ajax can do. From the features, from the most important features that we can notice from the Ajax is that it runs and it is to be actually utilized and run in live time. So this context of asynchronous updates, whether they are actually for one component or a list of components, it is to be done in live time. So now you click, now you get the result. Now you pass over, now you get the result. Ajax does not need the same event handlers like the simple JavaScript or the simple HTML. We do not need the same architecture to have the same event handlers to implement Ajax solutions. No, because it's a simple selection that can launch and fire the Ajax functions. A simple passover or hover might cause the Ajax to be launched. So we are not forced to use the same, actually the same events. When we say the same events, you are like the HTML event handlers, not events, the same event handlers like the HTML. We say actually a button click, a load, a pre-render. Those are the most famous event handlers we defined so far. We do not need the same event handlers since they are reasons to reload the full page. We can absolutely we can refer to that, but we are integrated, or the Ajax has been integrated to avoid such a shortness that those event handlers cause, mainly to load the full page again and again and again. So the Ajax, it is to do asynchronous updates. Why? Because it is tackling web components, not the web page. It is tackling web components, not the web page. It is tackling the web components, yes, in live time, yes, to send and to communicate with the web server, the service provider, in background. Using the JavaScript, requests would be submitted asynchronously, and responses would be submitted by the server in XML format. And this XML format will be rendered into an HTML view, which is actually the XML. It is an HTML-like tagging language. It is an HTML-like tagging language, the XML. So Ajax would help asynchronous JavaScript requests to be submitted to the server and XML responses to be retrieved from the server into to the web page where the control is. All of those activities, actually, the Ajax is not related to Microsoft only, but because we are defining ASPX solution, so we are dealing with a Microsoft platform. So the Ajax functionalities, they are integrated to us from a domain, let's say a namespace, a class, which holds the functionalities of the Ajax that we are going to call again and again. Functionalities means the predefined functions that the Ajax defines or gives birth. Those functionalities, they are stored in a DLL library, in the actually Microsoft based file. It's a namespace, it's a class, it's a library to hold the kit that the AJAX stands on. The kit here, actually, the list of the functionalities. Yes. Yes, I was talking about the features. Yes, live runtime actually client side template rendering. It does not need a server side actually processing. No, it's only client side. It is to instantiate objects and components whenever needed. Uh, it is to stand on the use of the JavaScript, yes, absolutely, and from the objects that would be actually used as data source, the arrays. So the arrays, they are a source like for the AJAX. Source of what? Source of data. Uh, yes, absolutely, and the AJAX also, it can invoke the call, actually. Invoke means to call, to use, to stand on, to enhance what the .NET layer do provides as two interfaces versus the front end solution and the back end solution. And at the end of the day, actually, the AJAX, it enhances to visualize human-friendly content. Means it is not only technical side JavaScript and XML. No, it has to render, and the content of the AJAX is to be rendered in an HTML format in order to be displayed in front end interfaces. Data view control here. We insist on this side, but still we are going to tell it again and again and again and again and again, which is the advantages of the AJAX. Actually, we may talk about the event handlers, the same that actually we use it up to before we define this AJAX, but because of the enhancements, the advantages that this AJAX do provides to us, provides to the end users and to the developers as well, we encourage, or the AJAX is advised to be implemented, to be utilized whenever needed. Most important added value from the implementation of the AJAX is the bandwidth utilization, in the sense of actually every single application needs to be published, publicized, and utilized by several clients and customers. Taking the example of the EduWave, we are thousands and thousands and thousands of end users using the services through the EduWave. And in so many cases, we face the latency that the EduWave do present to us. We try to request a page, but it keeps loading again and again and again. This is what actually happens when some of the technical issues appear. From the technical issues is that the bandwidth is occupied, is too busy. So there will be actually a difficulty to reach the application or a difficulty to get a response. The bandwidth actually utilization here will be enhanced by minimizing the requests. The request will not hold a full page content. No, it will hold only one component from the page. One task. It's a partial portion from the web page. It's a partial portion from the web page. It's not the full page. So absolutely the utilization of the bandwidth will be minimized. Thus there will be an amelioration. And this is due to what? To the AJAX only. Yes, it will be actually submitted only partial portions from the pages to update only. We click a button to update the button text only. So only the button will be submitted. The button content will be actually submitted as a request. We change the drop-down menu. The value to be submitted only the drop-down menu value to retrieve the updated values, the updated, let's say, content. So only a portion that will be actually submitted to the server without submitting the full page. And due to this actually amelioration, there will be actually a faster response. his response will not be as long as and as late as whenever we are submitting the full page to be updated. Submitting a small part of the page takes less time. Absolutely, it is trivial because the small part means less packets to be submitted to the network and then less time to be consumed to get the response. Yeah, and there will be actually visual effects to facilitate the or to enrich the user experience. And those use actually indicators or users, let's say, uh, hints to say that there is a process and is being actually executed. They are one of the enhancements that the AJAX do present. Indicators and timers was a good example of the visual effects, visual indicators. Not only that, but also the AJAX do enhance the control of the input boxes and the input points by helping in auto-completing the content. We do not have to see the AJAX as a positive added value only because there are constraints whenever we implement the AJAX, whenever we deliver a solution based on the use of the AJAX. And remember, the AJAX is the use of the JavaScript and the XML mainly. JavaScript is not it's not a programming language to create an application as per the definition. No, it is a scripting language to add effects, to accomplish a task by adding effects. XML is a tagging language. It is something like the HTML, but it's not the HTML. It needs other things to be rendered into a human-friendly view, the XML. And as per disadvantage of the AJAX is that if a browser is blocking the JavaScript, or is a browser, if a browser is not compatible, let's say, or does not have any enhancement to the version of the XML, here we find a problem that the AJAX will not work properly. And since it is not working properly, the solution that is using the AJAX as a key for the service delivery, there will be actually a non-reliable results, mainly based on the requests. So it is not only related to the network issues, but also due to the client side, which is the browser, which is, let's say, blocking the JavaScript and is not compatible with XML. So there will be some results visualized to the end user, but they will be unreliable, non-reliable. They're not trusted responses, and those let's say response, they are related to different reasons, but the most of them, the short activity of the AJAX, due to the configuration or the misconfiguration of the client utilized to visualize the service. The client here, we mean by that the browser. There is another issue which is actually visualized only due to the implementation of the AJAX, which is the return into a previous page. There will be no back button if you are utilizing the JavaScript to update content, because the AJAX does not load a page, does not submit a page. It submits a portion of the page, and the portion of the page is not something to activate the history. There's nothing to be recorded. Thus, we cannot go back. The back button will not be activated due to the use of the AJAX because nothing is submitted already. Nothing is submitted. So no history. No history. This is a disadvantage. If you want to come back, the full page will be closed. There is nothing has been submitted actually when the AJAX is fired. This is a matter of reading here. You have to compare between the JavaScript and the AJAX. Usually, you have to remember that the AJAX is a combination of both JavaScript and both the XML. So both to be running out together to finalize the task. It is not JavaScript. The AJAX is not the JavaScript, but it uses the JavaScript. Clearly, actually, it's a trivial understanding here: synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous postback, asynchronous postback. This is the submission of the content, but whether it is in a synchronous mode or in asynchronous mode, synchronous postback or asynchronous postback. Synchronous postback, we talk about a regular ASPX page, which is having forms to be submitted, and once a form is submitted, the full page would be submitted. So this is a synchronous postback. It has to be synchronized. The asynchronous postback, here we talk about the AJAX in action, where a partial part from the page will be submitted only, not the full page. Not the full page. This is an asynchronous postback. There are controls now. When we talk about the action, there are controls that we have to present in order to finalize or to use or to enhance or to implement a solution using the AJAX. We define them actually based on their role. Starting with the script manager, every and each single page that do uses AJAX in its content, actually there will be script manager to be utilized in order to activate all the functionalities, the predefined functions from the script control library from the Microsoft script manager. Will not indicate anything, will not show anything. It's just a blank space in the ASPX page, but it is to allow the call of the predefined methods from the script control DLL file. So the script manager is the, let's say, the link in between the library where the function definition is and the call of those functions. So here in conclusion to this definition, every single page that uses the AJAX has to have a call to the script manager, integration of the script manager, something like that. So this is an ASPX content in an ASPX page where the AJAX is utilized in that page, not in the place, but in the on the top of the page. There has to be actually a call of the script manager. Yeah, nothing will be seen. Nothing will be seen behind of the integration of this script manager. Nothing. It's just to perform the link correlation in between the library, the function definitions from within the library, and the functions calls, the invoke of those methods, the AJAX methods. That's all what the script manager do. There is a constraint here. one script manager only can be integrated in our page. We do not have actually to integrate script manager for each block in the page. For example, if we are having panels inside the ASPX page, panels. Every panel is let's say consolidated to display different content. One for the registration, one for the gallery, one for the photos, one for the history, one for the login. Panels. We do not have to integrate a script manager for each panel. No, only one script manager for all the components from within the same page, from within the same ASPX page. One script manager only. But there is a problematic view here. Still talking about the script manager, what if actually we have a nested pages to be called one inside the other? Example, we have actually a master page that links all the content pages to give them the common menu or the common functions to be listed in all pages. No need to rewrite them again, the functions or the menus. They are defined in the master page only, one time, and then those content pages, they are invoking those methods or this content or this master page fully. And thus, if the master page is called in a script manager and the content pages, in plural, they are also called in a script manager, there will be a conflict here. There will be a conflict here. To solve such a problematic view, we use script manager proxy. This is another control that the AJAX do enhances. The script manager proxy, it avoids conflicts when two script managers, they are called from within the same page. So if we are having a content page being called inside the master page would have the definition of the script manager, but the content page would have the definition of the script manager proxy, not the script manager. Why? Because when we have actually script manager and list of script manager proxy, there will be no conflict. The problematic view, if we are having the script manager for all the pages. Yeah, partial refreshes, they are because of the asynchronous activities the AJAX do enhances. A request to be submitted to the server in background, not in the front end, because it will not resubmit the page. Only portions to be submitted to the server. This is a view via which we see the AJAX in action. We see on top a simple request response from the client to the server, where we see actually an ASP.NET, let's say, a processor is doing the request, actually whatever it's been requested, and then after an HTML content is going to be sent back to the browser to the client. So the request, however you submit as a user, the processor will execute process that, and then after an HTML content will be delivered to you. HTML. This is when we are making actually updates to web pages without the use of the AJAX. Without the AJAX. The graph on the bottom here, we are using this, we are making the same process but using the AJAX here. So here we do not have a full submission. We do not have a full submission like here, full page to be submitted. No, here We have a portion to be sent in an asynchronous mode, asynchronous, without any hint. So just JavaScript to be triggered, and small portion of the page would be submitted to the end user. Let's say to the processor here, sorry. And the processor will execute this request and submit back a result. And this result or this response is XML content. And this XML content would hold any kind of data that you think of. Any requests, please? If you hear a name, so you say yes, please.